I'm going to tell you exactly how I learned to code with no CS degree, no background in computer science, and no bootcamp at all. In this video, I'm gonna give you the step-by-step plan on how to learn to code and get you building your own project or get a job as quickly as possible. I guarantee you, if you watch this video to the end, you will know what to do next on your coding journey and avoid the common mistakes that myself and others have made that has slowed us down significantly. I still remember watching YouTube videos on how to learn to code and being extremely lost and not knowing what to do next. So to make this video simple, I'm gonna break it down into 3 parts. So for part 1, I'm gonna assume you have no knowledge on how to code at all. And when I first started, I took this course called Harvard CS50. It was recommended by like everyone over YouTube, on Reddit, everywhere. But to be honest with you, I'll honestly like recommend against it. It wasn't really helpful for me and it was just too challenging for me. I just didn't really enjoy it and I don't think it was the best course for me at the time. So I did more research and what I realized is that the majority of the stuff I wanted to build were on the web. And majority of the stuff that is built on the web is actually built with JavaScript. So I decided to dive into JavaScript as my first coding language. So what I did was that I went on Udemy, I looked at a bunch of courses and I found one that I really liked. The one I would recommend is by Code Steel. I'll link it in the description below. It was a really good course. The instructor was super friendly and it was geared towards beginners and I was able to make some good progress from that course. In that course, I learned a lot about JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and start building upon my foundation. But what I'll also recommend you to do is this. Go on Udemy, type in JavaScript, HTML, CSS, look at all the courses, see which instructor you like the most, right? And go with that one instead. Again, I strongly recommend Code Steel. That's the one I went with and it was super helpful. But the problem with Udemy courses is that they're too handheld, right? You're kind of just digesting content, but you're not practicing. So at first, I kind of try to go to Visual Studio Code and the terminal and start coding on my own, but it was just too challenging. What I would suggest, if that's too challenging for you, try out Free Code Camp. It's a very good website. So basically at Free Code Camp, they will give you different problem sets, right? And you have to solve those problems on an individual basis. So I was solving these problems, I was getting more used to coding, what to do next, and just kind of thinking about how to solve problems, developing that programmer mindset. The key thing about being a self-taught programmer is not to lose momentum. So similar to Yerkes Dorson's law is that like you want to be in this zone of like not too challenge, but not too easy as well, because if it's too easy, you're not growing enough, right? But if it's too challenging, you can easily give up and just go back to not coding. I remember for me at the time when I looked it up, everyone's always suggesting, hey man, just start coding, just try it. But for me, that was going to be on the too challenging zone and I would have easily just given up by then. So what I did was I'll watch a course and I'll practice in Free Code Camp and I just keep doing that to get used to more coding and reading code and seeing, different code examples. After you have a decent knowledge of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, I suggest you to try to code out like a really basic project. But the truth is you probably won't just be coding with JavaScript. You're going to start using a different frameworks, right? Since majority of jobs and companies don't just write in plain JavaScript anymore. Next step I did was that I started learning about the MERN stack. So before you get too overwhelmed, let me explain. The MERN stack just stands for MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. This tech stack is very widely used among like different industries. And for my own startups, I'm also just still using the MERN stack to build out all my applications. A good bonus point of React is that they also have something called React Native. So React Native, you can actually also build mobile apps for iOS and Android with one single code base. And it's very similar to React, so you don't have to learn a brand new language. My team and I actually also built a mobile app with React Native as well. So similar to the last steps, I would recommend you go to Udemy, find a course you like. Again, I always recommend Code Steel. I'll link his stuff in the description below. And for React, I really recommend Pedro Tech. This is a YouTube channel, it's free. I basically learned React through him and he explained the concepts extremely well. Before I get into the next segment, I also decided to link some different courses down there as well that are text-based. One is called Full Stack Open, that one's for React, and the Odin project that many have recommended to use as well if you're more for the text-based side. For me personally, like I just learn a lot better through videos, so I stuck with the video courses rather than the text-based courses. And also, if you're currently enjoying this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It'll mean a lot for a small channel like mine. So let's move on to the next section of building example projects. At this point, you should have some decent knowledge about coding, and the code shouldn't look like a foreign language to you anymore, and you should be a lot more comfortable. And at the end of the day, the best way to learn anything is by doing it. I want you to imagine this. Imagine someone tells you they want to become a better basketball player. And instead of practicing all day, all they do is watch tutorial videos or basketball highlights or snowboarding highlights. That might help them on the beginning of the knowledge part of knowing what to train, how to get better. But the best way to learn is always by doing what you want to learn. So the next step I did was that I found a lot of example projects with solutions. A common mistake by someone who's self-teaching is that they just start looking at the answers, right? Because they want to feel like they did something. They want to feel like they're growing. They don't want to be stuck. But part of programming is really trying to figure out a problem by yourself, and developing that skill of problem solving. That's really the most important part of programming in my opinion. So what I did was that I always tried to solve the problems myself first, and unless I get stuck for more than a day or two, then I look at the solution and I try to learn from it, really understand it, and improve from there on out. At the end of the day, with experienced programmers, they're always still Googling, they're always still learning. This is a field that you're always consistently going to be learning. I remember in the beginning, I thought programmers just knew everything. They just typed it at the keyboard and got it down like that, but that's not the truth. Everyone's always Googling, talking to people, and learning new technology. And I remember when I first started these example projects, they were so intimidating. I didn't know what to do. But once I broke it down to step-by-step pieces, I was able to easily digest it. And once I figured out step 1 to step 2 to step 3, I was able to solve the whole problem. Just remember, you don't eat an elephant in one bite. So here are a couple of basic projects I recommend you to do that I did as well. The first one is a portfolio page. A second one is a tic-tac-toe game. This one's pretty easy. React actually also has it in their official documentation how to build a tic-tac-toe game out. An e-commerce website so you can practice the back end and the front end and just a lot of layout stuff. A bonus point is this though, if you can build something that's not too difficult but can also solve a problem in your life. Usually those projects is what gets me going the most, and building those projects are also super fun when you can find a solution in your life and automate something. So let's move on to segment 3 about building projects. This part is when programming got really fun for me, when I was able to have an idea and build it out. And again, that was one of the most rewarding feelings in the whole world, and I hope you get to experience it as well. At this point, I would suggest you just try to find a different couple folks to work with, especially more experienced programmers, right? A lot of times you can learn a lot from them, and that is a great way to improve as well. For me personally, I currently work with 2 other programmers. 2 of us are self-taught, and one of the other programmers has a master's degrees in computer science and is a senior software engineer. Congratulations, once you get to this point, it really is just about continuously coding every day and not giving up and building out different projects that you want to execute out. I also made a video about how I built my own startup before I knew how to code, so if you're interested, definitely check that out. You don't want to miss that one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.